Hello, everybody. Delighted to be with you again. This is Kieran, and we're looking at the topic number 8, Part B, Participation. And the coordinating partners for this topic again are TOOS and Communities Creating Jobs. And what we're going to look at in this session is the different forms of engagement. Now, when we use the term engagement, we use it to cover a variety of different ideas, including consultation, participation, information giving, and we'll talk about these during the course of this topic. And what are the implications of the different forms of engagement and how to use them well so that our engagement is positive and good. And first of all, I just want to talk a little bit about the concepts of consultation and participation. These are concepts which are often used together. They're used in the same kind of space, and sometimes they're used interchangeably as if they were the same. Now, I don't know what you think of whether they are the same or not, but I would say that they're not the same and that there are differences between them. And we'll just look at those differences now. So some of the major differences are about when the processes are used and what their intentions are and what the kind of context is. So in a pure kind of consultation model of engagement, the question that's being put really is, here is what I propose. What do you think about that? It's consulting people and it's asking them what their opinion is on something that has already been decided. So consultation usually takes place after certain decisions are already made. The agenda is set by people other than those being consulted. It's being set by the people doing the consultations, and they've already gone through a lot of decision making, so that a lot of the decisions are already taken, and what the consultees are being asked is the kind of outcome, what they think about the final outcome. And some of the problems with this is it can be difficult for those doing the consultation, those asking the question, to change their focus. So if the people being consulted saying, well, we really don't like that at all, we think it's going absolutely the wrong way about it, the people who are making the proposal or who are doing the consultation tend to become defensive. It's just human nature. It's just the way we are. We don't like people saying they don't like what we're proposing, and we try to defend it and we try to say how it is good. And that whole approach is different from participation, which starts from a relatively clean slate. Now, I won't say it's a completely blank canvas when you're starting, even in pure participation, but it is generally saying, listen, we have no real major opinions about this. We have a topic we want to discuss. We have an issue that we think is there, but we'd like to have a discussion about this issue and even see how should we define it, what are its characteristics, what are the things about this that we should be talking about. So this kind of participatory model is setting the agenda as well as giving an opinion. It is asking people to be involved from the very start of the process. And because of that, it's more likely to get people committed and to get people engaged, because they're not being asked about the kind of summation point. They're being asked about the whole process from the very start. It's more proactive. It gives more opportunity for dialogue, more opportunity for people to discuss things. And the people involved and the people instigating the participation, they're going to be less defensive because they aren't putting proposals. They're relatively open. The agenda is not set yet. So they're not there to defend something. So there is a big distinction, I hope you can see there, between consultation and participation. Now, they both have their uses. They can be used in different ways at different times in any process. But it's important that when you are entering into an exercise, that you know what the nature of that exercise is and what the opportunities are for those either being consulted or being asked to participate. There's another form of engagement as well, which is just information giving. And that is really just what it says on the tin. You're just giving information. You're saying to people, this is going to happen, or this thing is going to be put in place, or this is going to be built. And you're not asking for opinion, you're not asking for feedback, you're just saying, we're just letting you know that this is going to happen. And once that can also be a useful mechanism, once again, you're very clear that it is about giving information and that you're not asking for opinion. So we can get confused, as I say, about uh, these engagement processes. And sometimes we might think we are offering participation when in fact we're consulting. And sometimes we can think we're consulting when all we're doing is giving information. Now, sometimes this can happen by accident, we just don't realize. But of course, sometimes it can be manipulative in that some people can pretend they're consulting, but really they're giving information. They can pretend that things are open for discussion when in fact they're not. And there's a kind of a continuum here shown on this particular diagram, which I like. And it shows informing, consulting, involving, collaborating, and empowering. And that's a kind of a series of different levels of engagement, I suppose. And what I like about the diagrams is that they kind of show in a nice little diagrammatic form the nature of the engagement. So if you look at the informing diagram, that is a central point and information going out from that central point to a series of, well, it could be groups or individuals. In the consulting, you can see that information is coming from the outside into the central point. Again, of course, it's a one-way flow. It's not really a two-way flow, but at least it's the flow from the outside in. The involving then is that's a two-way engagement. That's where the discussion is taking place between the parties, and so that they have a good form of engagement. And then there's the empowerment and the collaboration. That is where people are all working together to achieve an outcome, and that's a more intense form of engagement again. And then finally, you have empowerment, and that is effectively where the power is handed over, I suppose, to the citizen or to the people involved, and the kind of leadership there is not from any central point. It's handed over to others. So that's a variety of different types of engagement. And just moving on to this fairly well-known ladder of participation. This was produced by a woman called Sherry Arnstein. It's well known. Of course, sometimes it's challenged. And the question is, what do the various steps on the ladder mean to you? So down at the very bottom here, you can see you have manipulation and therapy, which is non-participation at all. And that is where process of engagement are used in a manipulative way. They're actually used to fool people into going along with things, for example, or into believing things that are not true at all. And then you have what Sherry Arnstein calls tokenism, which is informing, consultation, and placation. So informing is what we said already about just telling people what's going to happen, and of course that isn't engagement really. And then you have consultation, which I suppose this is where I'd have some slight issues with this model, is it depends on what happens with the outcome of the consultation. If it's consultation where nothing happens and the consultation has no impact on the outcome, then indeed it is tokenism and it's fooling people. And then you have placation. Placation is really the idea that you use involvement in order to calm people down. You know, you've heard of the phrase get it off their chests, so that you kind of ease the pressure by people having the opportunity to talk about things, and as I say, get it off their chests. And then up at the top end then You have partnership, delegated power, and citizen control. And these are where there is real engagement, real power given over, and this is what Sherry Arnstein would call real participation, where the the opinions of the participants and the views of the participants have a real impact on what actually happens. So again, that's just something to reflect on. Again, that kind of the different ways in which engagement can be used. So the next question then is, how should the outcomes of a participation or consultation process inform the eventual decisions? As I've said, that's a really important point, is not so much just to what extent people are involved or that people's opinions are heard, but what happens to those opinions. And I suppose one of the points I would put forward is that when an offer of participation or consultation is being made, that there are certain undertakings implied in that. There are certain assumptions that it would be reasonable for them to take. And any process where decisions are the outcome, it can be seen as a combination of decision making and decision taking. And the decision making, that's the participatory process, the accessible bit. So that's where you have the dialogue, the collaboration, the consultation, the opinion form, the influencing, all of that engagement we talked about. But then the decision taking, that's where the authority is exercised or the power is exercised. Resources are allocated, decisions are made about what is actually going to happen. Oversight and evaluation is put in place, or regulations are imposed. And so the question then is, to what extent does the decision-making process impact on the decision-taking process? And if it has no impact on it, then it's not really a participatory or a consultative process at all. It is placation. It is on that very lower part of the Sherry Arnstein ladder. And the crucial elements of the process then become, how good is the decision-making process? How many people are able to get involved? How many different parts of the community are able to get involved? All of that. And then the other crucial element, as I have said, is what attention is paid by the decision takers to the decision-making process outcomes. And they are two very important parts of ensuring a good quality of engagement. And this is all tied in with an ethics, like I have said. There are some undertakings that I would say, when you're putting a system of this nature in place, when you're asking people what they think, and when you're offering them an opportunity to be involved. And I think the undertakings that are implied in all of that include, number one, that serious consideration will be given to the outcomes of the decision-making process. Secondly, that there will be a communication of the outcome, so people will be told what the eventual outcome actually is, what the decision-taking was, and that explanations of the rationale behind the outcome will be given. And if the opinions that emerged from the decision-making process weren't taken on board, and they mightn't be, there could be good reasons why they couldn't be, that an explanation of that will be given. And all of this approach, it requires an attitude of respect, so that those people who are offering the participatory or collaborative or consultative process are respectful of those that they're offering it to, that they have a degree of humility and don't think that they have all the answers, that just because they think it's right, that just because they've come to that point of view that it's right. And a commitment to honesty, being honest and open, and not always making decisions, as I say, based on the outcomes of the process, because there could be other reasons, but being honest about that, and being honest about at the start about what is being offered. Now, of course, this is no guarantee. You're not giving a guarantee that every opinion is going to be reflected in the decisions taken. That would be impossible. But they will be respected if they're given serious consideration. So here are some additional resources for you on the community engagement side of it. And you might have a look at those. They're all on the internet, and there's the links. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.